let us talk about the objectives of cash management. We have already seen the definition and we've highlighted certain major areas that become part of the whole cash management process, right? I told you at any point of time when a finance manager speaks of cash management or deals with the whole function of cash management, he has to look at three main important functions. He has to first see how well he carries out the collection of cash, that is the inflow of cash from different sources like his debtors, all the customers that the goods are sold to, and from all other parties that are supposed to pay the business some cash. Secondly, the finance manager also needs to look into how to disperse this cash, how to control outflows in such a way that too much cash is not paid at a time such that you don't have enough cash left with you in hand to carry out all other expenses. Okay, so disbursement of the cash in an efficient manner, in a very prudent manner is extremely important, right? Thirdly, you have the investment of cash. At any given point of time, you may feel or you may have excessive cash that remains in the business. Besides your working capital needs, besides whatever you need for your day-to-day businesses requirements, there may be some amount of cash that simply lies idle either with you in the form of currency or maybe in the form of deposits in your bank accounts, correct? So how well to invest this excess or this surplus of cash, how to make sure that you're earning enough return on it and that it's not simply lying idle, that is extremely important, right? And having taken care of all these three functions, in the background somewhere simultaneously, you also have to keep in mind the liquidity position of the company. At any point of time, you have to ensure that there is enough liquid cash available in the business so that you can meet all other expenses that are incurred on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so keeping these three things in mind, we are further going to look into what are certain objectives of cash management, what are the different goals that or different aims that a particular finance manager intends to achieve, aims to achieve through the whole cash management function. Fine. So we will see objectives, very simple points, very similar and inclusive of the same points that we have been looking into so far. Everything related to profitability, liquidity, the investment of the cash is going to come into picture over here. Okay, so the most important objective and main objective of cash management is first of all to meet cash payment needs. Okay, by cash payment needs we mean any type of expense within the business that requires the payment to be done in the form of cash. And again, when we say in cash, we mean both in the form of liquid cash or currency and also in the form of your bank payments. So you have on a day-to-day basis a lot of expenses that you come across, like purchases of raw materials, you may have some salaries to pay, you may have bills to pay, you may have so many other small expenses that have to be incurred, right? So for these you are going to require a certain amount of cash. Fine. There cannot be credit basis for every transaction. Not every supplier and not every creditor of yours will allow you credit, correct? So there are some expenses that always have to be paid in cash. So the major objective of your cash management is to make sure that you have enough cash to meet these cash payment needs, to meet all these cash expenses which may arise. Okay, so basically to take care of the working capital needs of the business. Secondly, another main objective is to maintain a cash balance, right? You always need to have a sort of a cash reserve with you. It could be for some emergencies, it could be for some any other contingencies, some backup besides your regular expenses. At any point of time, you can never say that, okay, last month I spent 10,000 rupees cash on all of my expenses, so this month also I will need only 10,000. That's a very wrong assumption, and it cannot be made. It's a very risky assumption to make, right? So you need to have a sufficient cash balance over and above your regular requirement of the cash. But again, the balance should be such that it is not too much, okay, in excess. It should not be such that it just remains idle there without being invested, without earning any income. And also it should not be so less that you are not able to meet sudden obligations or sudden expenses or any type of emergencies that you might come across, right? So a good optimum cash balance that balances both liquidity and profitability is important, is like a major objective of cash management. All right. Then besides these, of course, we have already looked at certain other objectives that talk of profitability, balancing profitability and liquidity. So the trade-off between liquidity and profitability should always be taken care of. Anything that you do with the cash should keep in consideration these two things and make sure that neither of this is affected as a result of the other. Like you might try to make an extra profit by investing your cash in, you know, some kind of investment avenues, okay, instead of letting it stay idle. But at the same time, you should not suffer by not having enough cash with you in hand for some emergency expenses, right? So these are what we have, the major objectives of cash management.